Okay, I'm kind of struggling here. I can't get a picture in my head of what I want to do architecturally in the back of the boat. I've been convinced that I have to have a bait tank. So this is a bait tank, and this is relatively small as far as these bait tanks go for offshore. Fishing rods are 7 feet long, which is right about where the tan wall turns into gray, so that's okay. I could put a bulkhead there. I'm pretty sure if I proceed with closing in this and this, I won't be wrong. The bulkhead will be here, more or less, and I guess I can close this whole side off. I can always put an access, or maybe under the seat I can have access to fish wires and stuff from up here to up front. My conduit ends. I don't have a conduit back here. I'm gonna have to put one. I guess that would help. The bait box is not very aesthetic. It's plastic and it's got lumps on it, so I'm thinking about wrapping it with fiberglass to make it a smooth curve. And it would be nice to have it insulated, so maybe I'll wrap it with the Venicel and glass it just to make it one, insulated for summertime when you're trying to keep fish alive in there, and every time else you could kind of use it for a trash can or maybe a cooler. There's a bulkhead right here, so it's possible if I close this off I could put a hatch right here and reach the bilge, although it would be a long stretch. I'd rather have a bigger access than that. And I've got 2 floor drains ordered, and they're going to go here and here, and they will drain out the back of the boat. So behind the floor drain I need to seal it from water, because you don't want water going in the bilge, you want water going out the floor drain. So man, a lot of things to think about. So I think I'll proceed with closing in this corner. I don't see I could hardly go wrong. It's got this existing bump, I guess, I don't know what that's for, but I think I will continue it onto the back. And I'm still not sure. I would kind of like to have a curve in this big piece of mahogany I put, but that won't be affected. I could go ahead and do this little side cover. So I'm going to do some structural repairs to these sides and finish off the sides. These are templates for the bulkheads that go under the cap toward the back. They close off that rear cap area. So it's like I need to make them. What do I want to make them out of? Well, I can make them out of I have a lot of the treated plywood that I made the deck out of. I could double it up and then glass it. Or I have a bunch more of these hardwood fence boards. I could certainly make it out of that and then glass it. Or I could just make it glass, you know, like I've been doing, putting oil on plywood and starting fresh and making glass. But I also have a few more pieces of the old boat left, so it's like, why start over if you already have fiberglass? So I'm going to cart. This was the interior motor mount wall, or the back of the transom. This was the floor. This was the top of the transom. It's really heavy. It's really thick. So I'm going to cut these 2 templates out of this piece of fiberglass and just throw one less thing in the dump. I like to. I'm not a tree hugger, but I don't like to throw things away. Okay, got them rough cut out. Looks like 2 layers of glass with some kind of putty in the middle. That'll do just fine though. Just need to clean them up. It's taken me a while, but I have a plan. I'm happy with my plan. I'm going to increase that back deck size. Like I have these timbers are sitting there. They may or may not be part of it. And I'll make a curved area in front of the bait tank. Kind of fancy, like all the new boats have lots of curves. What's been bugging me is access. There's a limited amount of access between the bottom of this tank and the deck. And if I put an access hatch right there, I don't know, there's all kind of water drainage issues. So that area is going to be sealed between the bait tank and the floor. And the access is going to be a big rectangular opening here under this part of the deck, and a big rectangular opening under this part of the deck, and I can get to everything from the sides and behind this tank. I'm not going to put bench seats back here. That's kind of been throwing me. I don't think they're going to work out. Have some side panels here and clean it up. I think it's going to look good, and I can start on this as soon as I finish glassing the inside of the transom. And my glass finally came in, so I'm going to take all this mock-up apart and start glassing today. Got a couple of other videos about glassing the transom inside and out and all that stuff, so I'm just going to skip that in this video. If you're interested, it's not very interesting, but if you're interested, you can go back to glassing the transom, I think it's called. It's another video. Alright, so I have direction on the back here. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the bait tank right where it is, which means I have to cut 3.5 inches out of this timber, which I wasn't crazy about, but I'm adding 6 more, the rest of it, so that'll be okay. This will be double plywood to make up for the 1.5 inches, and it's treated and it's very dry. This partition here will come straight down and then turn right here, and then I've scribed an arc. I've scribed the bait tank on the bottom of this sheet, so we'll have a nice pretty curve. It'll come to the deck, and I will remove all the plywood that will be behind this little wall just for better access. I'll still have, this is where the bulkhead is, so I still might have enough room. I may put a hatch right there. I'll have to see about that. So my access will be a large rectangular door or removable panel here and there. And since it'll be so large, I can probably almost get my head, well, I can get my head and shoulders in there. Because there'll be a lot of stuff in the builds, and I'm fruit about having enough access. At the minimum, there'll be 1 or 2 start batteries. There'll be a bilge pump. There'll be a fresh water pump for the washdown hose. There'll be a pump for this bait tank. There will be a hydraulic pump for the trim tabs, and there'll be bolts for the trim tabs, and we'll need access for that. There'll be bolts for the engine bracket. We'll need access for that. There'll be the floor drains going out the back. That'll be rubber hoses, so that you'll need access for that. So I really don't like the way they build boats now and put all that stuff in there, and it's so hard to get to. So we're gonna have plenty of access. We should have plenty of strength. And I'll frame most of this in wood because I'm a wood guy and I have wood, and I think wood is good. And if somebody doesn't like the way it's laid out, they can always chop it out and do it again. So the 2 layers are assembled with some screws. They're dry, so I can take it off now as a unit, bring it in the shop, sand the surface, take it apart, sand the surfaces, glue it and screw it together, and using the screws as locating pins. It should fit when I get back to the boat. I can't seem to ever stop glassing, but it's now or never, because once this is closed in, there's going to be no more glassing on the transom. So this is the transom to the back cap joint reinforcement. So when I glued my little top extension up, I was very, very careful to make it flat on the workbench. And I forgot that the transom board, this big cap, has an arc to it, so they don't match up. So I'll have to deal with that. And then I have it where I want it, and I plumb straight down, and I have a template which is the same curve as this curve. So I plumb straight down and marked it, and I'm gonna go 1.5 inches in and cut that out, just for no other reason than to be able to get my arms and the builds a little easier, because that piece of wood won't do any good. It'll just be in the way. So with this router bit, I just made 2 passes along this top, and this is the perfect bit because it references here and it references with the little bearing here. So it's kind of idiot proof as long as you hold it down and snug. So I made 2 passes here, and I made 2 passes on the new board. Now that should solve the problem with this having an arc in it and the new board being flat. I should be able to make them line up put a spline, a loose spline in there and glue it up, and it'd be strong too. So made a mess, got to clean it up, cut a spline. I cut a little scrap at the same time with the same settings to bring it in the shop so I can cut a spline that'll fit. I'm doing a dry run here, but the spline cut into the curve of the existing board forces the new additional board into that same curve, so it makes everything line up, makes everything copacetic. So I got it to fit, took a little wiggling and took it off and put some glue and clamped it and let it sit. We tacked down some guide boards around the perimeter of the opening for the bait box, and I bought a brand new sharp bit and cleaned up all the edges, and now they're all square and plumb, and now I'm going to take a round over bit and round the corners. I got a problem with my boat, kind of a serious problem. I don't have any steps to get in the boat. We have the steps in the front, but there's going to be handrail up there. My wife and I no problem stepping over the handrail, but we have friends and family that would have a really hard time doing that. And in the back, I don't have any steps. I don't have any seats. I'm going to have to put a seat in this back corner. My plan was to just make it vertical with no seats, but I got to have something for people to step on to get in and out of the boat, because it's got kind of high sides. And I don't have a clue at this moment what I'm going to do, but I guess it will come to me. This is my original template. This is what I marked from the plastic tank onto this. And then I use this template to mark that bottom curb lamination and the top curb lamination. And then I use this template to mark that board. And then I ran out of board, so I got this one kind of wonky cobbled together. And I got this plastic. I'm going to put the plastic in here and staple it down. And use this as a mold to get a sheet of glass to go around that curvy thing. This plastic has a lump in it. It's disfigured. But a lump there will make a dent in the finished product, which I can fill with filler. So it's the best thing I got, and we're going to go with it. I would have saved myself a lot of filling and a lot of sanding if I'd have thrown this black stuff in the garbage and gone and bought a piece of Formica and done this with Formica. But that's hindsight now. It's done. Okay, I got the plastic stapled to the form, and it's going to be a little lumpy, but it's okay. I just want to get the basic shape into the glass, and I can fill in sand from there. I think this is going to work. I got it oiled, and I'm going to start putting glass in. I think it's cured. Yeah. That's gonna work. So today, using the same template, I glued up another lamination and cut it and sanded it to size, and that's glued permanently on the, well, the curved part is glued permanently. Now the two straights are not glued, they're just screwed because I'm not sure about joinery yet. Got some thickened epoxy paint, and I'm starting the filling process on this little curved piece of plastic we made, and it took several applications because it was pretty wonky.
Covering for the bait tank is ready for another skim coat. Same deal, it's too cold. I'll be sorry if I do it.
So I think I have a solution to my storage access seating step issue. I think I'm going to put this step right here, and it's going to be cushioned to act like a seat, and it's on this stainless steel hardware, which lets it fold down, and then I can swing the door open, and I got room for a cushion. A cushion can stay on there. And then I have super access, and I can probably put some storage bins in here some kind of way. So this is all good stuff. Ignore the scrap plywood I made it out of. I was just playing around. But one thing I'll need to do is I cut this to put a taper to kind of match the rest of the boat, and I want it plumb, so I'm going to have to trim this in place, and I'm going to have to, these little bulkheads that are tapered, I'm going to have to make them plumb, and I'm going to have to cut that board that's epoxied on there forever, cut it in place and make it plumb, and that will make the seat swing better out of the way. I can put a thicker cushion on it and have it still function. Okay, totally new plan. This is much better. Seal this up, plywood strong. Pull my jamb out further than it was, maybe to here. Plywood strong. Make a plywood box, storage underneath. Strong. And I'll use that same hardware to make this seat wider. And then it can fold down, get out the way, and then I can open this door, and I can have storage, and I can have access, and even pulling it in is still big enough for me to get in there and do whatever I got to do. So this is 100% better. I was really not too happy about hinging this on a door and have it operable, because I didn't know what kind of hinges or latches I was going to have to make it strong enough. This would be much simpler, more better, much more better. So we finally got a little break in the weather, got some sunshine today. I put some plastic flanges here, and I cut some closure panels, and these two back corners are ready to close up. This one's in place. I'm going to epoxy them and screw them in, and that'll be the first permanent closures back in this back corner. Well, no, these are permanent. And if it's sunny tomorrow, I'm going to glass this whole back area. So I did a bunch of sanding this morning and some vacuuming, and I'm going to wipe it down with acetone, and I'm going to start glassing because we got a pretty nice day for it. I'm going to wrap this edge with a few layers of the 6-ounce mat, because it goes around these corners real well. And I'm going to try to get this edge with the chop mat, because 190 degree is much easier than 290 degrees. And basically just get all this covered up with mat so I can keep build the steps. And okay, just like that, 2.5 hours later, I got 3 layers of CSM everywhere and some additional layers of the woven fabric around the hole. So now it's time to coat it with epoxy, let it cure, and we'll sand it up. Got a lot of whiskers because CSM does that. This is the template that I cut way back when, and I used it to cut the upper deck and to cut the facial that goes under the deck and that bottom curb, and then I used it to make a mold for the fiberglass closure, and now I'm using it one more time to make the trim piece that's going to go around the top, except the only difference this time is that instead of going from this line back, I'm going from this line out, because this piece of trim will go on the outside of this piece of plastic. So I used a template, scribed the inside. This is a glue up, 2 pieces of good heart cypress. And then I went up there with the belt sander and kind of fit it, because it's a little uneven now with all the layers of fiberglass. And now I've scribed a line 1 1/8 inch. I'm going to cut that, and I need to build this up 4 inches thick. So I'll just keep putting alternate layers, and I'll make sure that the layers crisscross the glue joints. So it should be strong, and then it'll be glass. So it's really just a mold for the glass. So this is the trim board that I just finished gluing up, and I got it kind of cleaned up. And this is going to be glued permanently to that back deck, to that rounded part. And then it'll be glass. So this will be permanent. This I want removable. This will just be held in place with screws so it can be removed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut a notch in the bottom of the bottom inside corner of this with this router bit. It should cut a 1/4 inch deep notch. That way when I set this panel, I can set it up behind this piece of trim so that rainwater or whatever can't get behind it. Okay, this is where I am on this back part so far, and I'm stuck because it's cold. It's gonna be in the 30s tonight. I got this piece of trim made, and this is the where I took the rabbet out of the back. And this piece of fiberglass will fit up under there. Doesn't fit right now. I need to trim it. This will be screwed into place, so it'll be removable, and it'll be under here. So it'll be fairly watertight. And then this trim board will go here, and same over here. And if I'm lucky enough, I would like to have padded bolsters all the way around the boat to cover that. So when you lean in, you'll be leaning against something cushy. Now, over here in the corner, this will be the step. This will be fixed in place, rigid. This will be rigid. So I got this closed in now, and it's sealed, and I have a drain hole draining into the bilge in case any water gets behind here, but I don't really know how it could unless I got some screws or something up there leaking. Now this box will be the step for getting in and out of the boat because I had nothing. And it'll be rigid on not movable, and I'll either put one of those round hatches in the front, or if they make a little plastic one, I might put a plastic one, and I can put like tools and filters and stuff in there. It'll be kind of small. And this side will be really strong, and I'll mount these two things here. And this is for a to make this seat bigger, and it'll fold down out of the way if I get all my dimensions right. So that's the goal. I have a permanent step, a fold-up seat. Probably have to move this in again one more time for the third time because I need room for this, the seat top, and a cushion, and I didn't leave enough. Or I'll have to make this a lot smaller. Maybe I'll just do that. So, but I'm stuck. It's going to be cold tonight, cold tomorrow night, cold the next night. So I can't do any epoxy outside. And there's not a whole lot right now I can do inside. So I guess this is a good place to wrap up this video. The videos might be harder to do every week if it stays cold like this because I'm making not much progress. So there's not much to film, unfortunately. Oh well, I guess that's a first world problem, right? I'm sure a lot of people in the world would like to have the problem that I have, which aren't very many.